All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Parent Advocate Network hosted by the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. My name is Lyra and I will be your host tonight. This is November 3rd, 2018. And I have some exciting shares that I want to share with everybody tonight. One of them is that we now have at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families Facebook page over 14,000 likes. Now, what this equates to is people who are like this page will get information and messages in their messenger about the posts that are made on this site. And we have, this is actually the page, the site, so the group, and then this is the page here we go to. And on the page is where we share news and information about parental rights, family rights, and what parent advocates and groups are doing out in the country to help parents and families be reunited and stay together. And that can include anything from advocacy in the legal field to advocacy in care, child care, to training advocacy, to therapeutic assistance. We have a licensed psychologist who is looking to provide therapeutic assistance to families in crisis, and we're offering that as one of our features at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. We also have a lot of other, if my screen will come to the right page. So yes, we share information such as this video that is from Eric Scharfenberger, who is also a member of the Family Rights Party. And he has gone down to San Francisco and spoken to the Judicial Council regarding their injustice system and how they're ripping families apart, and that this is harming children and families in our state, and it's an illegal act and harming everyone. And so that is what we are doing, is we're just sharing information, and those followers are getting every single one of those posts. They get a share link to that post. And so we're trying to expose and spread the knowledge and information here at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families. And also we have our prayer that is, something that brings us all together in this world full of chaos and misunderstandings. And I would like to start this meeting with a prayer that we normally start the meeting with. And so I'm going to put it up on the screen for us all tonight. This is the law of one. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. And when one is helped, all are helped. And when one is healed, all are healed. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all that is, I ask that only that which is in the highest good of all concerned happen. And I give thanks that this is done. So be it, and so it is. Now, the reason that I share this prayer at the beginning of our meetings is because, yes, there will be parents that disagree with each other, and not everybody can agree on a lot of things, but what we can agree on is that children belong with their parents. What we can agree on is that this family court racket that now is in charge of our lives and our children's lives is committing gross injustices against the American citizens of this country, and that we need to come together despite our differences and despite our own personal ideologies and actually change these laws and help these families that are in crisis and stop this private entity that's being employed by the federal government from stealing our children. I learned that just recently. All CPS DHS offices are basically private entities because the federal government contracts to these organizations, or whatever you want to call them. Then that is where the money is going. And so
Okay, so who are you saying that these people are that are getting money from the federal government? Is
the
it the judges you're
CPS,
talking about?
CPS, DHS, whatever you want to call it, the department, they're considered a department of the welfare services, okay, but they're also being paid to just take children basically and sell them into somebody's stranger's house. And they're pretty much a private organization because they're just contracted to do these services. Okay. And more than half
Okay.
of more than half of the employees of these departments are not even qualified to do their job. I mean, there's supposed to be regulations that the department in every state has to follow through, and making sure that they're employing people who have bachelor's degrees in social services and welfare services, human resource management degrees, and a majority of the employees that are now in these departments actually don't even have degrees from college. A lot of them then are sent by this department to classes that are just like little workshop classes, and it'll be for a weekend or something. And so anyway,
Okay, now
the meat of this really is that we want people to be coming together and uniting against these atrocities, and doing all kinds of different things in order to stop this from continuing and persisting in our society. So that, like I say, is anywhere from, being involved in the legal system as far as being lawyers or advocates in helping parents, filling out forms, filing class action or civil action, civil suits, doing all that stuff. Okay, that requires paralegals, it requires lawyers. Sean McMillan here in California is a big advocate for parents who've been wronged by the system. And I know that there are other attorneys in other states, and we are working to get them more connected, but you can find a lot of information on our site at www.coalitionforprotection.com. That's right here. Welcome to our new site. It has had an update. There's still some glitches apparently that I will be working on, and I want everybody to please take a little bit of your time to browse through. We have a little bit of a different format here now. We have a Parent Advocate Affiliate Registration form that people can fill out, and there's some questions that are included. When you click on next, it'll go to another form, and there are quite a few responses already to that. We also want to share the latest meetings, what we've talked about. And there's been many meetings where we've talked about how to fight for your rights as a parent, how to file civil suits against social workers who have wronged you. And if you sign up here on our Parent Advocate registration form, you will receive a free PDF book that was just completed this week, titled Family Rights 101. And this is our our book of information and on family rights and how they can be applied in a federal suit. And we're offering this for free. We want people to know what your rights are, and we want to help you fight for your family. And then, so that's our homepage, and we have a lot of different options here, from our most frequently asked questions to information about parents with disabilities, to the work of the Human Rights Tribunal and how you can become involved with the Human Rights Tribunal and the great jury. They are starting to investigate human rights violations and in cases that have been presented to them. And if you go to this link, you can learn how you can submit your case to the Human Rights Tribunal for their review. And then we also have a state-by-state reform projects. So we just, this is information for parents. We offer to, file your complaints. File a complaint with anyone that you are able to, whether or not you get a positive response. It is this paperwork trail that we have to create in order to have things change and to have our rights upheld by those who are in charge. I wanted to also share here one of our states. This is just Alabama State Reform Project. And the reason I'm sharing this with everyone is because we have also a state-by-state parental rights booklet, which talks about whether or not your state recognizes parental rights as fundamental rights and what rights you do still have as a parent, whether or not your state recognizes your parental rights as fundamental rights or not. And this is also another free ebook that you can get by clicking and registering with our Parent Advocate program. Now, one of the issues that has been brought up on multiple occasions recently is the infighting in groups, and how people within the family rights movement are becoming fractured. And this is truly troubling, because the more fracture within the family rights movement, the less effect we're going to have in making a change, a lasting change, any kind of change, whether it be on your local level, your state level, or your federal level. But this can only happen when we work together, and when we all have a certain amount of respect and understanding of ethical conduct. And so tonight I wanted to share with everyone what we at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families have drafted up for our ethical conduct policy and procedure. And we invite everyone to read, and if you wish to adopt this policy and procedure. And this is how we can work together, whether or not we agree on everything. If we can agree that children belong with their family, with their parents, if we can agree that the family rights are not being upheld by our government, our officials, and that our children are being wrongfully removed, and that there's something needs to be done. If we can agree on that, great, then we're united. Let's work towards making this happen. Let's not get so caught up in it. Yes, Marge.
I was wondering, yeah, you're talking about the parental rights, and where did you follow them? But somehow, perhaps it would be good to emphasize that the Constitution's rights for parents and for people overrides any other state regulations.
Well, and
So
so
that
that's what we
people, when
have.
they say, well, but have we made it clear that the Constitution does, if you say your state doesn't have these rights and they aren't listed, that doesn't mean that the Constitution shouldn't be enforced.
And
It's
that's what
what
these
I
books
guess
are all
I don't know
about.
if I'm making myself clear,
You
but I
are.
was just concerned about, okay.
So here, I'm going to show you. So we're backtracking. We're not going to talk about the ethical conduct policy right now. We can go to Missouri. Okay, this is the state of Missouri. Okay, the parental rights, and this is what I put together last year. And so the state of Missouri does not have a state statute that explicitly defines and protects parental rights as fundamental rights. Read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Hold on. Okay, as a citizen, you have fundamental rights and liberties which cannot be restrained unless you have been convicted of a crime and a judge has passed, has passed a sentence revoking said fundamental rights upon a preponderance of guilt. Okay, so that's our first page on the Missouri Family Rights. The second page on the Missouri Family Rights booklet is the Bill of Rights, because that is the law, the true law of the land. So we want to make sure everybody knows that no matter what, you still have constitutional rights, and we're going to show you the first 10 or 12, I forget. Was it 10 or 12? 10. Yeah. First 10 amendments to the Constitution. And then we also offer information in the booklets regarding the articles that also protect your parental rights as fundamental rights. So Article 2 and Article 6. Okay. These two articles. Okay, and then we also talk about RICO and racketeering violations, which social workers are not immune. Okay, social workers are also not immune to any discrimination, any claims of discrimination. If a social worker has discriminated against a parent with disabilities, that is against the law, and they have no right to do that. We also talk about what types of limitations the state of Missouri has and how they discriminate in their laws. So these are the laws that they use in discriminating against parents with disabilities to keep their kids away from them. Okay. So then we talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has been ratified in 1948 and signed by the U.S., all the senators in 1992. Okay, that was President Bush that was in office when this was ratified. So we share all 30 of those, and then we also offer this information on the rights of the child, because the rights of the child should also be recognized. Again, we talk about the best interests of the child, and CPS and social workers and the court will talk about the best interests of the child. The thing is that there is no clear definition. However, this is a guide that we provide to parents to look through as to what most CPS, DCFS offices use as a guide when that's what they're supposed to use to decide whether or not it is in the best interest of the child to stay with the family or not. Okay. I'm not saying that this is
Okay, now,
good or bad. I'm
my,
just saying this is what's been provided for us. Yes, Mark.
no, what I was gonna say is that the Constitution actually says that the parents have the first right to the best interest of the child, and the state doesn't have that right. in the Constitution.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it or
Um, I have gotten some new information that was, yes, specific to that. And then we also have information about your local, like your senator and your governor, and who you can contact regarding any civil rights violations and disability rights violations. And these booklets are available for each state. And you know, people, when they sign up as a parent advocate or affiliate, can request to have one of these booklets sent along with the Family Rights 101 booklet. So that's this page here. Again, that's coalitionforprotection.com. And this is your parent advocate affiliate registration form. And then once that's filled out, it will be processed, and then you will be sent that free PDF form. I also want to point out at this point in time that although we do have an on-call online service that is available, where parents who come to the site can directly link to a live individual, it is not operable right now, and I will be doing another tutorial next week, I believe, on how people can get involved in that program as well. Now, what I wanted to do was go over here to the About Us page. We used to have this information with our vision and our mission statement on our homepage, and I've put it now on this About Us page. And when we go to the, our vision is to help families remain whole and support families that have been wrongfully separated, work towards reunification. Our mission is to provide resources, offer support, counseling, and advocacy for parents dealing with family court, DCFS, and related custody matters, to assist in pro se representation. We are here to help and offer on-call assistance. That, again, is that little tab there in the lower right-hand corner that I pointed out. We also lobby for laws to protect family values and reunification of families discriminated against by government officials. We meet with federal, state, and local government officials and lobby for equal treatment of parents in the eyes of the law. When we go on rallies, we go to the Department of Justice, we talk to these people on a regular basis. So we're getting the word out, and we want people to know that we need more people to be involved. Let's start pounding the pavement and get this going, high speed. Our core values. We are dedicated to supporting parents and families with education, counseling, and nonviolent solution-based advocacy for children and families. All members are committed to our community-inspired ethical policies and procedures. So now, this is where I wanted to end our meeting tonight, is to share with everybody. This is the ethical conduct policy and procedure that was brought to my attention when I was doing some education in human resource management. And this is something that really spoke to me, because this is about bringing care and consideration and respect back into community, into working with others that have differing opinions and differing modalities, and how we can all work together. And so, you know, to build this community of ethical conduct, we want to ensure that the integrity and the merit of the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. We, the board members, adopt the following policies and procedures of ethical conduct as the premise of all branches of the organization. I got to change that. We decree that the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families will have a high degree of transparency. Full accountability for ethics is at every level, including the board members. One, we have a clear code of ethics to avoid harm to a wide variety of constituents, balance ethics with profitability and results, carefully build and protect trust, and choose the ethical path, even if competitors aren't. Enforce ethical expectations. Ethical behavior in the organization includes, but is not limited to, good work ethics, clean and clear representation of oneself during participation in group business, organization business, respect of members, and B, clear messages about ethics and values, including but not limited to presentation, mature debates, and attending meetings clean and sober. It's important that when we have meetings that everybody has a clear mind and that we can all have mature debates. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not all have the same idea of how this is going to happen, how this is going to work. We can have good conversations around that. It doesn't need to turn into brawling, and like Marge has been talking about how some members will just for the sake of argument put out that somebody's posts is fake news. Well, you know, I am of the belief that, you know, there might be fake news out there and there's real news out there, and we should all do our research and be able to come to our own informed decision. And it is everyone's right to share what they may have found and think is real, and we can discuss and have a good constructive conversation about whether or not it's a real news break or not. But I mean, for somebody to come and just put fake news on a whole bunch of somebody else's posts, it degrades the integrity of, you know, what we're trying to do here, which is share and spread information and help everyone to understand what the truth is. And sometimes there are going to be lies, and sometimes we're going to be able to prove that they are lies, and sometimes we're not, and that's okay. But, you know, nobody should be just blatantly, you know, labeled, oh, you're just doing fake news articles. That's not right. That doesn't show any sense of let's work together, let's see what we can do to make things work better for everyone. And that's what we do here. We want everybody to work together, because, you know, the more that we work together, the better things will be for everyone, and the sooner we will have families reunited and children out of harm's way once and for all. That's my belief anyway. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go on to the third section of ethical policies here, and that is to embrace corporate social responsibility. So we need to be engaging in relevant and good ethics training and messages, not the same old boring stuff. So ethical actions matching ethical marketing. What we're presenting to the public is what we believe, and that those match our ethical beliefs and understandings. We have frequent conversations within our groups on ethics, how to honor each other and work together. Commitment to protecting children and families. That is a social responsibility we all have. We also believe that there's need for a commitment to protecting the planet, because we live on this planet. We all live here together. When we have waste dumps and toxic waste dumps, that ends up harming people. It ends up harming children. It ends up harming families that are in the area. We've seen so many news articles and even lawsuits. Remember Erin Brockovich? Okay. What was she doing? She was trying to protect families from this facility that was dumping their waste into the local water system. So that's why we believe that we should have this commitment to protecting the planet, because we protect the planet, we are protecting children and families now and in the future. Next, consistency in demonstration of care and respect for others. Now, I know that there is some debate on the definition of respect. My understanding of respect is a ability to listen and acknowledge another person's opinion without ridicule and disrespect and denial. We can talk about that, we can change it, that's fine. It's for another discussion. I'm sure there are other people that might have differing opinions.
Okay, I just, on the respecting, what is happening across the nation is, if you disagree with me, I mean, and some people and the ones who are causing division is when they decide that, okay, I disagree with you, and instead of trying to work it out, instead of giving your ideas and letting the other person give ideas, their conclusion is that if you disagree with me, you are a bad person and you need to be punished. And I think that needs to be emphasized, that if the other person agrees, that's their right. And if you you talk it out, you don't become violent, you don't become really angry, you just accept. And then if you have, if you want to discuss it later, maybe you can set up a time to go over it if it's something very important. But respect comes in also respect for the individual as a person. And if we don't have that, then we can't really be respectful.
Right,
So
that's true. Thank you, Marge. I appreciate that insight. And I agree with it wholeheartedly. And it is sad. I mean, today, people can't say, oh, well, we can agree to disagree and let's not battle over it. It's so divided right now. And that just allows those in power that are destroying families and destroying children every day even more incentive and ability to do so, because when members of the family rights movement can't even agree amongst themselves and can't get any work done because they can't agree amongst themselves, or they can't just agree to disagree even, that things fall apart, and it's truly sad and tragic. And that's why we're talking about this tonight. Thank you.
So, what is going to be done if there's a feeling that people are in violation of your definition of respect? What types of things would you do to stop it?
Well, I have entertained a couple of things. One is a mediation, where two people will have a third party as a mediator, and the two people that are not getting along, or the two groups that are not getting along together, can meet in a neutral territory with a neutral moderator and try to discuss and come to some clearer understanding, hopefully. I know that there are those that do not wish to take that path and wish to slander and disrespect others in the movement, and this is truly tragic, and I am distraught as to how to deal with that. And I am open to suggestions. I'm a peacekeeper.
Okay,
I just want to keep the peace and have everybody come together so that we can all, work together on some level here for the sake of our children, for the love of all of our children. I mean, that's what this is about. Children and families.
okay, what about, okay, it seems to me like if you're going to be unified, that across the nation, the different administrators of the groups should have like should have some kind of communication with each other, so that if you have an idea, you can share it, and if you have a, if you're concerned about something, you can share that, with the idea of just getting ideas and not saying one thing is bad, one thing is good. But it seems to me like if you're going to unify people, you've got to go to the people that are in charge of their groups, and all of them need to communicate with each other on a regular basis, whether it's once a month or whatever, so that everybody's in line with what they're doing. And like to when you have events, that the events are published somehow or another. I don't quite know exactly the best way, but it seems like the events should be shared, so that every person, every group can publish the events, well, no matter whether it's from their territory or not, in case someone outside of their territory is following that group. Um, I don't know. Do you have ideas on that?
Thank you, Marge. That is part of what we want to be developing and we're working on at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. And this meeting is not to discuss that, but I do have a list of people that want to become involved in different aspects. And I believe that some of them are from other groups. I know that Michelle Chen is involved, and we help her and her cause PCC, and we do a lot of protest cross-posting, and the groups, like at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families Facebook group, there's a lot of events that are posted there as well. And we just are, still in the beginning stages of this, and getting people connected together and building this plan, for
Okay,
sure.
what I'm saying is that, okay, you're talking about unification across them and people working together, which is part of coalition.
Yes.
Okay, in that area, again, I think that there should be some way to connect the administrators of groups again, so that they can get a somehow unify what they're doing, and being able to tell other people what's happening in such and such a state. Because and that it should be, I don't know, then the goals, seems to me like there should be goals set for the, just in general, for every group to follow in their own way, but they're all working toward the same goal. And so the goals are stated, so that it's kind of like you're not following just any path. You have a direct path that you can proceed in your own way, but yet then you know that the other groups around the nation are working toward that goal too.
So that's that decision making and carefully incorporating ethics. And that's where we're at. We're developing and to develop leaders in how to implement proactive ethical leadership. So we do have some admins that are in a group. They're in a couple of the groups. The Coalition for Protection of Children and Families is one of them, and the Parent Advocate Network is another one. We also have people involved with the Family Rights Party platform, and they are admins of their perspective groups on Facebook and on other social media sites. What you're talking about is definitely where we're headed. Again, not something we're going to really work on tonight, but that is something in the works. So I do appreciate your input and insight there, Marge. I would like to go to the next section of ethical conduct and policies and procedures, if that's all right.
Fine.
So, you know, that's what we're talking about here is
Where is everybody tonight?
open leaders. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're doing their own projects. Here we are tonight talking about ethical conduct policies and procedures.
What
And
happened today?
the first, he's working, his computer is in the shop getting fixed. So he's kind of out of contact right now because of computer
Okay.
problems. Yeah. But he's going to be coming back, and he's got some stuff he's working on down in LA. So the fourth section here is on open leadership, communication, and invitation to participate in decisions. This is what you're talking about, Marge, but we're talking about it here in the in the terms of ethics and ethical conduct. So, you know, in the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families, the leaders are aware of increasing ethical expectations. We're aware that there's friction within the family rights movement and that there is a need for higher standards of ethical conduct. And that's why we have published this and are sharing this with everyone tonight. So leaders stay competent as times change, not getting caught up in battles between groups, and becoming open and supportive within the movement as leaders. That's what we're doing here. And then 5, we're talking about performance guidelines and boundaries for behavior. And what we want is a performance system that fully integrated with ethical expectations. So what we do as members of the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families is uphold our ethical standards in all of our business. And 6, we set ethical boundaries. We will provide a safe space to discuss ethical gray areas. Take on broad responsibility for actions. Think long-term about your impact. Because what you do today...
Okay, what is...
I'm sorry?
Said, what does that mean?
Well,
What's
okay.
the action?
So this is what it means. We're talking about our behavior as individuals and what we represent in, you know, whether I represent the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, or I'm representing myself as the Secretary of the Family Rights Party, or as, like tonight, the hostess of the Parent Advocate Network. So I take on a responsibility for my actions and how they will affect how you feel. So what I'm saying and how I'm showing respect and understanding about what your questions are and your concerns are, that is that responsibility that I take on, is that I am open to understanding and listening to what you have to say, acknowledging what you're saying, and either agreeing with it or saying, well, how about this, or maybe I don't agree, and, you know, we can agree to disagree. That's how we look at this. And then also thinking of the long-term impact of my interaction with you. Well, because we're on this video platform and we're sharing with individuals all across the nation and all across the world, really, that we want to show that we are rational adults, because, you know, we don't want to come off as stark raving mad lunatics. I mean, I certainly don't, because it's going to be, you know, it's going to be published to the public arena on YouTube, and it's going to be played back who knows how many times. And so I have to think long term about my actions and what kind of impact they're going to make, not only for the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families and the Family Rights Party, but for anybody who's viewing the information that I'm sharing. And, you know, my presentation is a part of whether they're going to take me seriously or not.
This ties in, it seems to me, with with respect. Because
Mhm.
if you follow the rule of respect, I think you're going to be able to follow this rule. So I think the two of them kind of support one another.
Yes, absolutely.
That's just my observation.
And all of these support each other. And we have, so here we have a values mindset. That's the next topic here, of ethical conduct, and a values mindset. Well, here at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families, we support family values. Family values, people ask, what's family values? Well, everybody has their own understanding of what family values are, but I believe family values are about heritage, respect, and family, and that everybody is a part of a family, and we all work as a family. And uh, family has arguments, but they always make up. They have disagreements, but families are always family, so they're always going to be there. And we shake hands at the end of the day and say, all right, where are we going to proceed from here? I believe that part of the ethical values and family values is treating children as their own individuals too, and listening to the ethical conduct not only applies to business, but it also applies to life, and it also applies to families, because everybody, including children, have something to say. And we all have a need to at least be heard, whether or not what we say
Right.
is right. We all have the right and a need to be heard, and people, should give us at least that much if they want to. But in a family, it's a little more complicated, because the dynamic is that you're living with your family members every day, and so it's a little more intensive. So yeah,
Right. So
but we
the family, okay, the family, I believe, is a basic unit of society. And as the family goes, so goes the nation. And I also believe that the sanctity of the family is super important, and it should not be interfered with just like a snap of a finger, because it's a unit that's tied together and should not be broken apart. Uh, as far as the values, I guess I've been taught that okay, there's such a thing as respecting your parents and being obedient to your parents, but at the same time, children have rights, and that uh, they need to be treated with respect, and they need to be treated with love, and trying to teach parents trying to teach the children the best way they can to be able to function in society in a way that promotes the value of the family.
and
And
that sounds very good. Thank you, Marge. And I agree with that as well, and believe that, as far as that goes, another part of family values is your parents or grandparents teaching you the family business, for example. That's a family connection and family value. I believe that not it hasn't disappeared.
well, it goes to the tradition of in the family of the way people are treated is a big thing too, because we get the way we handle life a lot from our people.
Yeah,
And so when we get parents and grandparents, we're going back in history, and we're learning maybe some of the things that we've forgotten in the present time.
right. And that is important, to have that respect and understanding of your elders and listening to your elders. Yes, impart that knowledge.
But But again, that goes back to respect.
Yep, it does. All right, so when we're talking about values mindset, we're using systems of thinking to see the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture here? We are all a part of a family. We all have families, okay? Welcome and act on feedback from constituents. So we want your input on this. We welcome it. We want people to be involved in the process in building this ethical community and making it strong so that we can go forward as a united force here and effect the changes that need to be made to protect family rights as fundamental rights in every state of the country and in every country of the world, honestly. And we talk about being willing to do what it takes to become and remain an ethical organization here. That's really important.
Right.
And so that's our values mindset. And then our positive ethical role models, where we recognize and praise the ethical actions of those within the organization. We recognize and punish unethical actions. And again, as Marge asked earlier, you know, I'm not quite sure how to deal with that other than to have a neutral space where people can work out their differences. And then having a strong commitment to improving leadership culture. I'm sorry?
I said, I would think that it has to come to your attention as the leader of the group, if you're going to be the one to decide whether or not something is ethically right or not. There has to be, you have to have kind of basically a small report on what the issue was, so that you know what you're dealing with when you're trying to solve it.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
if you don't have that, it's going to be kind of, you're not going to be following any path, and you're going to be kind of unable to solve it because you don't know the exact circumstance.
Well, I have been known to kick people out of the group if they were not behaving properly on repeated occasions. This has happened in the past. I have asked, you know, members to stop acting a certain way, that it's abrasive and abusive, and, you know, they need to stop. And they didn't stop, and I had to remove them from the group. So that has happened a couple of times.
The thing I have had a problem with, and it's been within my group, is this one person. She wanted her things posted to the group, and she wanted me to accept them just as is. And so she said, "Well, if you don't do this, I'm going to what do you call it? Block you." And I don't like to be. I mean, that's not exactly a threat, but it is in a way. And I didn't like that tone of, you know, you accept what I say and don't argue with me. And I don't. I mean, that's where you're the administrator. Sometimes you have to decide what the other people are needing and go with that. So I don't know. I felt that person really needed to go someplace else to post if they're going to dictate what they're going to post.
Yeah, and we will run into those types of people. I'm more of a peacekeeper than anything else. I try not to judge anyone, but you know, it's not nice being attacked either, and being strong-armed into doing something you don't want to do. So But we here at the Coalition for
Right.
Protection of Children and Families have a strong commitment to improving leadership and culture. And so then with that, I wanted to talk about our last section of the ethical conduct policies and procedures, and that is to use the precautionary principle. Treat ethics as an ongoing priority and treat people with care and respect. Don't type your paragraph there. Sorry, that's what it says. Type your paragraph there, but no. So, you know, we want to keep on talking about this within the Coalition for Protection of Children and Family, within the other groups that are out there. It's important that we find a way to set aside some of our personal biases and remember that, you know, this is about children and families. And, you know, my understanding and interpretation of lots of things is going to be different from somebody else's. But that does not mean that I shouldn't have my children. Does not mean
No.
that other person shouldn't have their children because they don't feel the same way I do. And, you know, we need to get back to what's really important here. And what's really important here is that parents and children stay together and reunify instead of being sold to perfect strangers. You know, and I want to end this meeting soon because we're almost done here, but I wanted to talk about one thing, which is this new movie that came out. It's like an immediate family. I can't remember right now the name of the movie. It's a new movie that just came out, and it's about this couple that ends up going to an adoption agency, and the woman shows pictures of these three kids that all need to be adopted together because they're three kids that, you know, came from the same parents. And, you know, what I saw is that although there was a little bit of truth there that social worker or adoptive agent said, which is that there are over 500,000 children in foster care today. What they're doing is they're glorifying foster parents or adoptive parents in this movie instead of doing something to investigate, you know, why there are 500,000 children in foster care. Why? I mean, how is that possible that over 500,000 parents are not good parents and have caused so much pain and put their children in imminent danger? That's not a reasonable thing to even conceive in my mind, that over 500,000 parents are that negligent. But maybe they are, but I don't think so. You know, and so for me, this movie was just kind of like twisting what's really happening and making it so that people think, oh, well, I could adopt children because I could be saving them. Instead of looking at, well, where's the parent of that child? And does that child want to go back with those parents? You know, and what happened? Why was the child taken? And you know, what could be done to help those parents be better parents so they could have their children back? I mean, those are the things that come to my mind. Not, let's go
Well, the one
find
thing,
more parents to adopt children and make more money. No, we don't want that. Yes, Marge.
well, I in my instance, or in Kelly's instance, we believe strongly that the foster parent was in on the plan to take Michael and that she wanted a child. And so I believe she worked with Children's Mercy Hospital, and I think she worked with CPS on having him brought to her house and being a foster parent, because she says off and on through medical documents of when she visits the office, she keeps repeatedly saying 2 years at least, or 3 years before the termination of parental rights, she keeps saying, well, she wants to adopt my grandson, and she wants to, um, but she's waiting for parental rights to be terminated. So I just, if that's her focus, then I believe that she was part of the problem.
And that's what it seems like in a lot of cases. I was hoping to be able to be with my youngest son about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago, because I had seen
Yeah.
him at the video store and I was really excited that we were going to have a play date, and that didn't happen. Well, the foster parent that's trying to adopt my youngest son, she was one of the original foster parents in the beginning, and she did not always tell the truth to the social workers because she, in the back of her mind, was thinking that she was going to be adopting my children. They would not let her adopt all of my children, but they are basically letting her adopt him. And, he doesn't even remember me. I mean, that's devastating. I spent years trying to imprint some images of happiness and of me being his mother on him. And I gave him a photo album when I learned that my parental rights were going to be terminated. And he apparently hasn't seen the pictures in there because he could not recognize his own mother. And that was truly sad.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I don't know what reason they gave you why you couldn't see him again. But I'm wondering if seeing you brought back memories, and they were a little bit upset that this was his reaction. I don't know, but it just seems a possibility that you're that they felt that they were on dangerous ground for them. That's
Probably.
just an idea.
That's a very big, good possibility because I'm not giving up. It's, some, I still have some letters and some stuff that I can do. And so, yeah, no, definitely not giving up on that. Excuse me. I was going to say,
So
Kelly,
who terminated your rights?
huh?
I said, who terminated your rights?
The judge did at the courthouse. She terminated my parental
And
rights in
what? And did you?
2015, and I've appealed.
You don't have to say. I just was curious whether or not his reasoning was in line with what's appropriate for termination, or was he
No,
just
there
didn't
was
come
a
up
whole
with?
bunch of evidence that was not even allowed into the reports. There was a whole bunch, I mean,
Oh, that.
yeah,
That happened in Kelly's case too.
she basically looked
But
at
I
the
mean,
picture of my daughter and said, oh, she looks adoptable. Wouldn't, consider even doing what's it called? When you have parental ties, oh, familiarity test or something like that. I forget. I'm at a loss for words right now about that, but
well, I just was wondering whether or not. Okay, I keep hearing that these judges in a temporary rulings that's not legal. And I've been wondering if these are temporary orders, you know, in your situation and mine, that need to be challenged.
Oh, the whole case needs to be challenged, and I'm putting together, the information, but I have to do it like we were talking about. You guys need to do as well as the affidavit for each civil rights violation, and filing it in the civil claims court against the CPS official that violated your rights. And that Family Rights 101 PDF file, I'll send you a copy of it, because it has the case precedent set by the federal government in the different violations of your parental rights. And you can use that when you write an affidavit, and you write your affidavit, and then you cite the law that they're in violation of, your civil rights law that they're in violation of, and then you cite the federal cases that have been overturned because of those civil rights violations. And that is all included in the Family Rights 101 booklet. So I will send you a copy of that, okay?
Oh, okay.
And then
Okay.
I wanted to talk to
That's
Kelly
it.
a little bit, because I saw a picture of Michael in his Halloween outfit, and I thought that was wonderful. Did you get to see him?
I No, I didn't get to see him, but the foster mom sent me two pictures of Michael. So I one was his Halloween costume. The other one was a school picture of him. So
That's all she said.
That's all that she said.
She didn't. She just sent it, and she didn't say a word about it. So we don't know what's going on.
I can show you the picture. Here's one of them. That's the.
Yeah, that's the one I sent you.
Right, yeah, I saw that one. That's cute. That was his Halloween outfit.
Yeah.
She gave me one too.
Did I?
No. Teresa gave me
right, one too.
One too.
Yeah.
One for you.
But it brings back. The problem is, it brings back memories that I told Kelly in some way.
And then this one is the school picture too.
Right.
The thing of it is I'm not sure which is. I said I felt more anger toward her because of that picture, and basically it was because she denied us 5 years of his life.
Yeah.
And it brought back the fact that of losing his babyhood, of getting to know him and to be a part of his life. And I don't know, as I said, she sent us pictures before. Originally, the judge said there was to be no communication. We haven't asked for those things, but she sent them, and so I'm not quite sure how to respond, even in my own mind, to what the value of this is.
Right.
Because
yeah.
Seeing his picture brings him. We talk about him all the time, but it brings more to immediate attention.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. No, I understand how that could trigger some emotional pain. And I honestly don't know. I mean, I remember when my ex-boyfriend, the father of my youngest son, sent me a picture of Ronan going down a slide. And that was it. That's all he sent me. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? So you're going to send me this, but you're not even going to talk to me. Thank you.
Right.
I hope that
I feel in some way I gotta say, I feel in some ways that if it, I don't know that that's the way she feels, but it's almost something like ha ha ha. I have him, but I'll share him with you. And I,
I don't know if it's that or if it's I think I don't know. You remember the other day that you were talking? I think it was yesterday.
yeah,
You were saying that 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 you um uh wait, what was it? Oh, you said that you don't know if she's scared to lose him or what, but you both of us were surprised of that we had pictures of him too, and um I'm really glad that we got pictures of him, but um it makes me sad too. It makes me sad, and plus I know it makes her sad too, and it makes me upset and angry too because I
Yeah,
really want Michael back, and I and it makes me um it makes me upset so easily because and sometimes I feel like I want to lash out at her, but I don't because I have to back off and like say, Kelly, you really have to if you really want Michael back, you cool it, you don't don't mess it up. So you know that's why I don't really say a whole lot to her because all I say is thank you for the pictures. I was asking her the other day about how Michael was doing and all that.
but she didn't
Yeah,
respond to
yeah,
that.
yeah. She didn't respond to that. It's like,
uh,
but um, I don't know if she's realizing that she's gonna lose him or not gonna get
I don't,
him,
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
keep him.
Yeah, I don't know what the DFS. It'd be interesting to find out what the DFS chatter is
right,
because I don't know how much they're responding to what's going on, and I don't know how they're responding. But I also wonder also what's going to happen when 2019 comes around and some of the, well, I guess all of the executive order comes into play against CPS. I
right.
mean, that's what I understood. There was one,
Hmm.
but I just was wondering how it's going to, and I don't know how it's going to affect. What does that do to getting our kids back?
Right.
Well,
I
isn't the president
And,
isn't the president helping us get our kids back?
well, I don't know. Do you think he is?
Well, I've read a lot of chatter, and I think my personal opinion is that the president is a businessman. He is about making business decisions and making money, and selling children makes money. And he knows that our country right now is in a great deficit. And so I don't think he will do it. I think we have to fight for it. He's given us some opportunities with the executive order, but I don't think he's going to do it for us. That's my opinion.
No, I don't either. But what I was wondering, yeah, what I was wondering is if you know, what is the goal? What is the goal now for parents to, what happened to the executive order that was hopeful?
Yeah, that one,
Where's that
it's,
standing?
it's still circulating,
Yeah.
and that was started by Don Rufty, and I've circulated it.
Can you have him on?
Um, I've had him on multiple times. He joins in on and off when he is able to. I'm always inviting people. Not everybody shows up every time, as we know. And that's okay, because this is a place where we can talk and we can discuss things, and what we discuss we share, because we are all about complete transparency here. And some people would say that, there are things that you shouldn't be transparent about, your ideas and plans and stuff. Well, my belief and Dale's belief and a lot of other people's beliefs, including that of Anonymous, is that ideas don't die, people do. And I think it's great to be able to share the ideas that I have with others. And I hope that, I get credit for what I've shared. And I hope that you're not going to slander me because you want to have the credit for something you didn't do. But that's just the way that this goes here, I guess. And I, want to stick with the standard of clear and complete transparency here. To be completely transparent, I have spent this year probably over $500 to advertise and keep the website up and running for the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families.
What happened there?
This year alone,
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
This year alone, I have spent over $500 to maintain the website and do the advertising campaign that I have done to get the word out and for the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. And that's, that was my choice to do, and I keep on doing that because I believe in supporting family values, and I believe in bringing our children home, and I believe that every child deserves to be with and know their family, their biological family. And whether or not we can all get our children back in time to continue this mission is vital to the survival of humanity, of having that human factor that is starting to be weeded out of our culture and society, where people think that shooting up a school is a video game. I mean, where did the humanity go in that child's life? That's the scary stuff.
Well, the other thing is
stop.
The thing is, well, I know it's happening here too, but I know in Europe there was kind of conversation. I think that someone stressed that in Europe they are taking out history so that people don't know what happened in the past, so that then they can do things that they wouldn't get away with if people knew the history. And I think that's happening in the United States. We don't know our history, we don't respect our history, and we don't know how to transfer. If we did know, I don't think we know, a lot of people don't know how to transfer what happened in history into messages to our life. And I think that has to be more, you need to go back and bring in facts that happened and relate it to the present time. So
Yes, I agree with
that's
that.
my idea.
I agree wholeheartedly there, Marge, and it brings up another point, which we do need to still investigate, which is that history is written by the winners. So there's still parts of history that are eliminated every day as the winners change. Who's winning now, as opposed to who was winning 20 years ago. The history changes, and in schools, in the public education system, history is not being taught the way it was when I was in high school. I know that for certain, and from what I've heard in some places,
No,
it's not even
no, they
taught.
don't want people to know it. I
So
know.
it's something that it definitely
It's
needs to be
very
revisited.
discouraging. But I guess what I was thinking of is the relationship from the Holocaust, and basically not so much as what happened to the people in the Holocaust, but basically it's the thinking that went into the Holocaust being able to happen.
Yeah,
That thinking is still down the line, and I think people need to know that this is not something new, that this has been going on since, I don't know, at least I know it goes back into the 1800s, and that I think that would help people understand, what they're fighting against.
yes, it
I, I
would.
don't, I think, I don't think, I think, maybe somebody mentioned in one of the groups that they thought that we should be able to, we should try to think like CPS thinks. And I'm thinking that's a good idea, because if we learn to think that, and if we learn where that thinking came from, I think we could fight it better because we know what we're fighting against. And
We're
the
fighting
other
against
thing is
money.
that right now we're fighting against what?
The money that they're
Money?
getting, yeah, because they get over 3 times as much money to keep our kids away from us that they would if we had them. I mean,
But it's the thinking, but it's okay, I agree with that, but yet then it's still the thinking of the value of people and the value of possessing people, and and the way that what they tend to look down on people who have disabilities, who are poor, and that goes back into the centuries of the way in the earlier in our thinking, or in our history, people who had disabilities, particularly those with mental illness, were put in what they called insane asylums at the time. And so that thinking, it's not okay, that thinking toward disabilities is still coming through in the way that DFS treats people.
yes, I agree with that. And, as far as thinking about where CPS started back in the 1700s, I think. And I mean, not CPS as it is today, but like foster industry or foster care. And what it was is that
Right,
these people who were more well off were seeing children working in these slave factories and working in dirty conditions, and they were seeing that these children didn't, they were begging for food because their parents couldn't feed them and stuff. And so parents would even come to these well-to-do families and say, please take my child, I can't take care of my child. And then there were missions that would go
right,
to Africa and other third world countries back in the 1800s. This was in the 17 and 1800s. And they would take the
right,
children from these villages, and they would be, quote unquote, saving them from savages and savage communities and savage lifestyles. And so
right,
that was the underlying premise for what we now have today. I think I did do some research into that.
right,
And it's scary. It's scary because what it did back then was create already a class system where you were considered um, unable to take care of a child if you lived in Africa, in a village, in a tribe. You were considered you were
right,
considered a savage in the United States of America if you were a Native American
right.
by the colonists. I mean, this goes back to just the mindset and how it has prevailed through the centuries. It's very sad.
But I think that, okay, I think that maybe I don't know, but it seems like maybe it would help if people knew some of the background of history
America?
in America. Well, not just it came mostly, but
Well,
it goes
isn't it?
back at least to the 18th century. And I mean, it's a little bit better than it was, but it's kind of going backward. Kind of going backward
Isn't
to
it? Isn't it going back to like when Hitler, was alive in Germany and all that
uh,
stuff? DFS, CPS.
Yeah, he was.
no, I don't. Well, the attitude. That attitude
Were
was worldwide in some ways. That it was.
Germany and Hitler and yeah, because all, they wanted, he wanted one one special
Society.
society, which was blonde hair and blue eyes, and that's it. And, and to me, I would, if at that time, if I was dead,
Yeah.
because I have dark hair, and dark eyes. I'm not blonde.
Right.
I'm blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Well,
That's
also,
what he
it was
wanted.
also the thinking behind Hitler was also that
Oh, if
you
you
weren't,
didn't,
if you weren't perfect,
you were dead.
you were
You would have been
desired,
dead.
you should not be accepted in society.
That sounds like
Right. Right.
an extreme case of
I
Darwinism there. Survival of the fittest only.
have
No,
you
huh?
have you heard of the story of Anne Frank? When that's the story. That's the story of Anne. The Anne Frank is when they were back in Germany. She was a
Second World
Jew.
War.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was a Jew, and that at that time Hitler was alive at that time too. And yeah, and plus they had I was in junior high, and we were talking about Nazis and all that stuff. And my mom told me that well, at school that my teacher was gonna give us about the Nazi
Uniform.
yeah, uniforms. And my mom said, no, you are gonna learn the whole thing. The whole story about Germany, the whole story about Hitler, the whole story about Anne Frank and all that stuff. So yeah, we did.
Yeah, right on.
And just recently, a couple months ago, it might have been about a month ago, that the story of Anne Frank was on TV too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I said, and both of us were watching the story. It's like, wow, that's still, that's the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
just,
well, I
yeah.
think that we just continue forward, promoting these policies of ethical conduct, because I mean that's what we want for people to understand, is that we're all in this together, and we can't make judgments of anybody, because that's not right. I mean, it's counterproductive to doing what needs to be done to ensure that families stay together, to ensure that our children are cared for. And we want to be able to provide help and assistance to parents who are new parents and would like some guidance as new parents. And we want to help parents who are in the throes of CPS cases that have lost their children or are about to lose their children. And we try to offer advice where we can, and we direct people to those who are within their state. We try to bring different groups together that are in a state that this family is struggling, like you're in Missouri, and so there are other people in Missouri that you can connect with. And that's why we have the connections and the polls that we've created at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families is to provide a list for people to connect. And it takes a lot of work, and I hope that more parents will add their name to our polls at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families. And then finally, I wanted to just end this meeting saying that I have also shared on the Coalition page on Facebook and also on the Family Rights Party page a review of the ballot for the state of California for the election coming up on November 6th. I hope that you guys will be voting in your state of Missouri, and you know, we wanted to be able to find out from other states what candidates and policies and legislation that's coming up support family rights, but we were unable to come up with all that information on such short notice. But we did come up with it for the state of California. And this is the site for the Family Rights Party. It's familyrightsparty.com. We also have the same policies of ethical conduct adopted at the Family Rights Party as well. And I will share this video on our page at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families on the Facebook page and on the group, and I will share it with you as well. And we just gonna keep on spreading the word, and sharing and caring is the keys here, I believe. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I have a
Go for it.
there are 3 areas that I would like to be able to point parents to some way of the path to follow, and that is when the rights have been terminated and there's been forced adoption, because I feel like so many of them give up. They think that's the end of the story, and I just somehow I would like to be able to push the idea that no, don't give up. You go ahead and give the steps to help them get on the path of fighting for their kids. And I don't think there's enough information being put forward and emphasized on that area.
Right.
And not necessarily just on the coalition, but across the board. I mean, in so many, I seem to talk about how their kids were taken and talk about their forced adoption. And I'm thinking, okay, I think people don't ask themselves questions. People don't ask themselves questions like, why did this happen? What is there I can do about it? Where do they accept sorrow that I don't think they have to live with?
Right.
I
And
mean,
so,
maybe I'm
you know,
wrong, but that's
what
just
we what we're doing is we are sending people to the site, because what we are doing is we are offering this PDF book. It's Family Rights 101, and this book has information that parents can use in their federal claim. And we also offer information on under most frequently asked questions. You can click, there's Supreme Court pro se, there's the Appellate Court pro se, and then Federal Supreme Court pro se. And we offer some information regarding the laws that protect your family rights, your parental rights up here, and then the list of fines that you can legally sue social workers, judges, and lawyers for being in violation of and denying proper warrants, denying rights of reasonable defense arguments.
Can you
big.
yeah, on that page, okay, on that page, can you make the, yeah, there you go. Yeah, because it was a little bit print, small print. Yeah, so. Okay, I see it now. I see it now. Okay.
And
That's
racketeering. So there are, and each,
right.
and that's why, you know, when you write those affidavits up for the civil rights violations, each one has to be specific to what violation it was, where's the evidence of that violation, okay? So if it was a violation of your Fourth Amendment right, or your 14th Amendment right, or your Fifth Amendment right, or your rights as a person with disabilities, or, you know, so you have to cite that right that was violated and then list who violated it for that offense, and each of those individuals that violated on that offense, you can sue for those amounts that I showed.
Okay, can you sue foster parents?
Yes, nobody is above the law. And that's what that Family Rights
How do you do that?
101.
So where do you?
So I'm going to send you a link to that Family Rights 101 booklet, because that gives you a clear understanding of how CPS workers and judges and lawyers are not immune to the law.
But I mean, where do you go to? Where do you go to? Like different things. Like the foster mother has constantly said that Kelly was mentally disabled and not capable of taking care of Michael to the doctors. And
Okay, so then that would
I
be,
want to know where you go.
well, that would be a discrimination complaint. And so you would file a complaint against her for discrimination and lack of, it would be slander, because she's basically putting it into writing, correct?
Right.
And
Okay.
it's not true.
Can you go to Children's Mercy Hospital and ask them to take that out of their reports?
You could, but I just don't know if they would
I
do it. I mean,
I don't know if there's. No, I was just wondering if there it seems it runs in my mind, but I may be wrong. I was thinking that that's part of that they're not supposed to, put that in there, particularly if it's hearsay.
right,
And she was she was making this statement from hearsay.
right, exactly. Slander and hearsay, those are violations of your civil rights. And but this list of fines is for people in positions of authority, so judges and lawyers and social workers. That's what that table of fines is directly referring
Okay.
to. But I mean, you can file a suit against anybody for, you know,
Okay.
discrimination and stuff if it would change the outcome of your verdict. That's even better. I mean, right?
Okay. And the other thing is that when they first had Michael, when he was a tiny baby, he came one day, and we never did know because he came one day on his right temple, about the size of a baseball, was a bruise.
Mhm.
She said, "Oh well, that's just Ray's veins." The other thing was another area where it's the same area but a little further back. She had a round red circle, and she said that's just. And so I don't know what happened. I just.
But no, that's not.
But I don't. There was definitely a bruise on the one. The news. I don't know how it happened.
And this happens
but
far too
we took,
often with our children in foster care. And you know, my son came with bruises as well, and I complained about it. And my daughter came with scrapes above her eye, and you know, they didn't make a big deal about any of it. But if it had been me that had been bringing my children to them with scrapes and stuff, then it's a big deal. Then they're writing about it. And that's just the way they operate. And you know, that's another thing that we want to change. But in order to change any of this, we need to be involved in the politics and ensure that the laws are changed in the political arena, so that they protect children and families, and protect the rights of, yeah, yeah. So, and that's why we talk about, you know, people, we need people to be registering the Family Rights Party in every state. There's a tutorial on the site uh, that you can easily follow to register the Family Rights Party in your state. And we're happy to help with any questions and concerns that people may have. We are looking for delegates in every state to get involved. It's not going to really make much of a difference in this election, but you know, we have an election in 2 years, and it's going to be a presidential election, and the Family Rights Party is, you know, is totally different from either the Republican or Democratic Party. And right now it's looking in a lot of these elections like there's not really much of a choice whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. um, the candidates have pretty much the same party line and still do not follow through on what they promise in their campaigns. And so, you know, it's time for a change. It's time for something new. It's time for a different party to come on the scene. So I invite everybody to go to the site there at thefamilyrightsparty.com. And that is, oops, hold on, this one here. And, you know, we invite you to look through the vision and mission statement and policies and endorsements and events. We got all kinds of information here. Let's make this happen. Let's make a difference. And I appreciate you coming tonight. And I want to applaud you for sticking through, because I know it's really late there where you're at, and we're still unsure as to whether or not this time is the appropriate time. I'm looking at other times.
Well, actually, it's 11:03, but we'll be changing it to 10:03. Change clocks to 11:03, but it will be 10:03. So.
Oh, right.
daylight savings time.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yep. So you may be going to church at 10 o'clock and it's really
9. 9.
Right, there you go.
What's wrong? Nobody's here.
Right, yep.
All right, well, ladies, thank you for joining. And again, for those of you who've tuned into this meeting we talked about ethical conduct and policies and procedure at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. We invite you to join us as a parent advocate and affiliate. When you sign in, you will receive a free PDF book called Family Rights 101. And this book highlights the constitutional rights that protect parental rights, and it also talks about the case precedent that has been set both by federal courts and in the case of the state of California. We are also looking for case precedent that is set in other states to be able to help parents in the other states as well, filing for their rights to be parents and to bring their children back and reunify. And that's what we do here. We help parents and families reunify. We are here to support you in any way we can. We are not lawyers, and we do not pretend to be lawyers. And we do suggest that you consult with a lawyer if you have any legal questions. We do offer information, we offer case law, and we offer support, and we are here to help. And we hope that you will join. We have this meeting every other Saturday. We are looking to have it at an earlier time due to the fact that it is now 10, almost 11 p.m. in Missouri, and almost and 9 o'clock here in the state of California. And 12 in New York, that's right. So we're gonna revisit that, and we welcome you to add comments, ask questions, join in the conversation here at the Parent Advocate Network, and we hope to see you soon. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you.